Welcome to the deep dive. Usually, when we think about nature conservation, it's, a charity gala.
Right. Adopted a manatee or something.
Exactly, philanthropy. But our mission today is to explore the climate-nature nexus and nature-based solutions. Because, well, that whole philanthropic picture is entirely outdated. Capital has officially stopped treating nature as just like a separate ledger.
Yeah, to understand the scale here, we pulled from a stack of recent sources for you. We've got a primer from the financial data provider MSCI, some modeling from the scientific journal PNAS, and updates from the European Green Adapt to Extremes project. And I mean, the numbers are just staggering.
The big hook here is that private finance for nature just crossed the $102 billion mark. That is up from roughly $9 billion just 4 years ago. So the central question for you listening today is, what actually happens when nature stops being an environmental charity case and becomes a recognized asset class?
Well, the MSCI Nexus primer tracks that 11-fold jump. And, when a major index provider like MSCI starts tracking this, Wall Street is definitely watching. But we do need to be clear about the data here. These numbers are quite soft.
Meaning they're compiled from self-reported estimates?
Yeah, exactly. Without, like, a standardized taxonomy and with very limited independent verification.
Wait, so if the numbers are soft and there's no real standard, doesn't that just mean we are inflating a giant greenwashing bubble? Like, are investors just throwing money at a buzzword? Because practically speaking, how does an investor actually make a return on a mangrove forest? I mean, it's not a toll road where you charge cars to pass.
No, it's not. That is the defining tension right now, for sure. To answer the mechanism part first, they are monetizing the savings and the services. So, for example, a healthy coastal wetland dramatically reduces storm surge,
Oh, which lowers the risk of catastrophic flooding.
right? Which translates into massive savings on insurance premiums for coastal real estate. Or, governments issue green bonds to fund the planting of these mangroves, and they pay investors back with a steady yield using the money they saved by not having to rebuild a washed-out highway.
That makes sense. Plus, you have the carbon markets generating credits for the CO2. Those ecosystems lock away. So even if the data is currently messy, the actual financial architecture is being built right now.
It is, yeah.
So if it's an investment channel now, that means the physical way we build to protect ourselves has to change to generate those returns, right?
Totally. We are seeing the end of the debate between green versus gray infrastructure. We're actively designing ecosystems into hard engineering. Like, the modeling for the scientific journal PNAS looked specifically at coastal defenses.
Okay, what did they find?
They found that building hybrid systems, like a living mangrove forest positioned in front of a traditional concrete dike, is incredibly effective.
Oh, because the mangroves absorb the initial wave energy, meaning you don't need to build a massive, expensive concrete wall. You can just build a smaller one.
Precisely. That specific hybrid approach could avoid $800 million in annual damages today. And under high warming scenarios, especially in South and Southeast Asia, that jumps to $65 billion in avoided damages.
That's a huge jump.
It is. And this isn't just theoretical modeling anymore. The European Green Adapt to Extremes project is integrating this kind of green adaptation with hard infrastructure across entire river basins.
So nature-based solutions are moving from isolated pilots to full-scale portfolios.
Exactly.
But wait, if we're tying billions of dollars to the performance of a swamp to protect a city, how do we prove it's actually working? Because if a government or an insurer is paying for a specific level of flood protection, someone has to prove the mangrove is delivering. It feels like the deal structures have completely outrun the rules here.
They really have. The assurance layer, the system of independent auditing and verification, is lagging far behind the capital. The source material is very candid that what we call blue carbon projects. These are ocean and coastal ecosystems designed to capture carbon. They're frequently self-declared.
Right, because the monitoring technology is still early stage, making comparability really poor.
Exactly.
It's like a booming real estate market where nobody is doing home inspections. The capital is ready to buy, but the trust isn't there yet.
That's a great way to put it. The frontier isn't whether a mangrove is bankable anymore. It's whether your particular mangrove project can scientifically prove its claims to a foreign investor. That's why upcoming industry events, like the June NBS Symposium, are pivoting entirely to governance.
So they aren't talking about how to pitch investors anymore.
No, they're asking who benefits, who decides, and who bears the financial risk if a storm wipes out the asset.
Right. Spot on. So what does this all mean for you listening? The future of your city's climate resilience is going to be an integrated green-gray portfolio, We're seeing this reality being built right now by groups like the ASEAN UK Green Transition Fund. Nature is no longer an afterthought.
No, it's a foundational piece of the infrastructure we will all rely on. It's being priced, traded, and engineered accordingly.
But we'll leave you with this to mull over. If nature is now officially an asset class driven by strict financial returns, what happens to the local communities who have relied on those ecosystems for generations when their daily survival, like fishing or gathering wood, suddenly conflicts with the foreign investors' verified performance metrics?